Jim Clyburn is stepping down from his leadership role in the Democratic Party. But that's not a reason for us to clap. I'm going to explain to you why in this video. My name is Tim Black, and this is Calling It Out. On Wednesday, Jim Clyburn announced he will be doing us the sacrifice of him stepping down as leader of propaganda and misinformation for the Democratic Party as assistant leader of the Democratic caucus. You know what? I'd like to know what made Jim Clyburn actually decide to step down. Yo, Kevin, what do we got?
Hi, Tim. That's right. Jim Clyburn is not going to be in a leadership role in the House of Representatives. Clyburn will be leaving his role as the assistant leader in the Democratic caucus. Clyburn did not give a reason for leaving, though we're glad he's going. Back to you, Tim.
Thanks, fam. Clyburn stepping down means he's going to be passing the reins over to Hakeem Jeffries.
We believe that in America, our diversity is a strength. It is not a weakness. An economic strength, a competitive strength, a cultural strength. Our diversity is a strength. It is not a weakness. We are a gorgeous mosaic.
This is not good. One reason why you should not clap about this is that Hakeem Jeffries is also an empty suit. Listen to him here talk about what the agenda, the primary agenda of the Democratic Party will be going forward.
Right now, the question is, will House Republican leaders do the right thing by the American people? Stand with Israel, stand with Ukraine, stand with Taiwan, stand with our democratic allies all across the world, and stand with civilians who are in harm's way in Gaza and in other theaters of war throughout the world and get them the humanitarian assistance that they need.
This is an epic fail on every front. I mean, if you're a person that cares about international news, international politics, he put Ukraine and Israel before he put the innocent people, the civilians who are getting hurt. So his first concern was Israel, and then Ukraine. And then, oh yeah, we're helping these civilians who are getting killed unnecessarily. We'll do something about that. Should you put the civilians first, since we're funding it? And if you cared about the civilians getting killed, wouldn't that be a conflict that you're backing Israel and you want to help send humanitarian aid? If you stop backing Israel, you wouldn't have to send the aid.
It's important that we stand with Israel, stand with Ukraine, stand with our allies in the Indo-Pacific, and certainly ensure that we can surge humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians who are in harm's way in Gaza through no fault of their own, and civilians in other theaters of war.
But Hakeem Jeffries is an empty suit, and he's spineless, and he's a scumbag, and he's the party. The Democratic Party is the party of war, just like the Republican Party. They just say it nicer. And if you're someone who doesn't give a shit about international news or war, maybe you'll notice that he didn't have shit to say about domestic policy. I didn't hear anything about your problems. I didn't hear Hakeem Jeffries say anything about what is going on Main Street, on your street, my street, or any other street that you ain't happen to live on, folks. Whether it's in the hoods or the backwoods, whether it's the trailer parks or the tenements, I didn't hear anything about that. What I heard very clearly. My ears are cleared out. What I heard was Ukraine, Israel, and more foreign country nonsense. So when I say don't clap about Jim Clyburn stepping down, he just passing the trophy or the baton to further compromise individuals who have a lot more years ahead of them to do the same garbage that Jim Clyburn has been doing. But Tim, what about the Democratic leadership positions? Well, there's someone who's been working underneath Clyburn who's a protege. Representative Joe Neguse out of Colorado. What good could this guy be if he's been working underneath Jim Clyburn? If you've been tutoring under Jim Clyburn, what could you possibly be learning that would actually help American citizens? Learn better ways to neglect voters Learn better ways to take money from big pharmaceutical companies. Learn better ways, more advanced, efficient ways to take money from APAC, maybe. That's about all they're good for. Folks, what I'm trying to tell you is, Jim Clyburn is stepping down, but he ain't stepping away. I'm disappointed at the fact that we were unable to move this arrogant egomaniac out of the way all these years.
Well, thank you very much for having me. There's no question about there is a difference in the approach of younger people than those of us who are older when it comes to politics. We older people focus almost 90% of our time on substance. The younger people are more into style. And what we've got here is a classic example of some people selecting the style of the candidate over the substance of the candidate.
Folks, Jim Clyburn is a narcissist. He's a control freak. And he's an arrogant, blowhard, do nothing, waste of space. And worse than that, he's betraying all the people of his district there in South Carolina and the rest of the country, if not the world. I say this because other folks in leadership positions within the Democratic Party, once they passed the 80-year mark, two of them, notably Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer, both stepped down from their leadership positions. But not Jim Clyburn. Not that old Jim. But see, Jim is in it for Jim. He's in it for the bragging rights. He's in it for nothing else better to do except rule the world. Control the outcome of elections. Sitting at the right-hand side of Joe Biden, feeling like he has arrived.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Nothing changed. My concern is much more with black voters getting the right information, getting all of the information so that they will be informed voters. That's my concern. I believe very strongly that this president has done what is necessary to earn the support of African Americans all over this country.
The worst civil servant is the civil servant who ain't serving the public civilly. He's serving himself. He's serving his own agenda. And that is the agenda of the Democratic elites. That does not trickle down, folks. Another reason why you should not be excited about Jim Clyburn stepping down from leadership is that Jim Clyburn ain't going away. Now, Jim Clyburn is going to seek re-election. His reason for stepping down is not the obvious. He's old, he's cantankerous, and a lot less effective. But he'll never admit that. He thinks South Carolina's turnout of 4% was just due to bad weather, though there wasn't a cloud in the sky. He says it was Russian propaganda. See, folks, I believe that maybe, just maybe, there are some black South Carolinians and white South Carolinians and Latino South Carolinians that are waking up to the fact that the Democratic Party is a bunch of smoke and mirrors, not much unlike the Republican Party itself. Jim Clyburn has lied to himself so many nights that he may actually believe that he is actually doing the will of the people. What people I don't know? Them people that cut him checks, them people that have helped him keep his seat. When I say that, I don't mean voters, folks. I mean the big donors that have contributed to his campaigns over the years. The Republicans that have helped him gerrymander that district to keep himself locked and loaded in that position for a couple of decades. Almost 3 decades. He ain't stepping down. He's running again for re-election. And what will he be doing now that he will have more time on his hands because he won't be pretending to be a leader in the Democratic caucus? Well, he'll be helping Joe on the campaign trail, going around, lying to black folks at every stop, misinforming them, trying to scare them, and my favorite, lying about how much work Joe Biden has done for the people.
To make decisions. Are the president's struggles to this point a campaign issue, sir, or a candidate issue?
Well, I think that we I met with the president around the same time the former president did, and there were others meeting with him as well. All of us are expressing to the president that which we think needs to be done. And so when I read the reports of what former President Obama said, it was nothing different from what I had said to him. So it looks as if all of us see the same things happening, and I think all of us agree on what needs to be done.
What the hell was he talking about? Nothing. South Carolina, you keep voting for this guy. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? These shills pushing us to vote blue, anywho. That's how you end up with a Jim Clyburn in office for 31 years. Because people keep pushing it. Stop listening to celebrities, man. Them celebrities are getting kickbacks, favors, friends, money, opportunities. All they got to do is lie, throw us under the bus, and say whatever these parties, these corporations want them to say. Having a bunch of cowards in cable media only helps a person like Clyburn, who's unafraid to lie and lie some more in front of the cameras. Take, for instance, how he talks about how great things went for Joe Biden in South Carolina a couple weeks ago. Clyburn loves to get out and say, oh, it's Russia propaganda, misinformation. That's his new talking point. Misinformation, misleading black voters. When Jim Clyburn is actually the one who's misleading black voters. Has Clyburn ever admitted that only 4% of South Carolinians came out and voted in the Democratic primary? When Obama ran, 24% of South Carolinians came out and voted. When Hillary Clinton ran, 16% of South Carolinians came out and voted. Now that Joe Biden's running, 4% of South Carolinians came out and voted. And this big bragging about, oh wow, black people really came out for Jim Clyburn. No, they didn't. The numbers were down. It may make it seem that way. But let me put it in perspective for you. If you invited your friends to come to your house for a get-together, and let's say you got 20 friends, if only 4% of those 20 friends showed up, how many friends would you have there? One. Folks, that's 4%. And what if that person just happened to be black? Then you would be able to say, a lot of black people showed up for me. And that number, the actual number, would be 1. See, that's the type of lying through his teeth, conniving, scheming, scumbag nonsense that the Democratic Party pours over on voters. Instead, I got these people saying, Tim Black, oh no, Tim, you can't trust the polls. I'm talking about the actual number of unexcited people that drag their asses to the polls. I'm not talking about the polls. I'm talking about people that came to the poll, the ballots. We're not talking about what some Republicans put out in the air. We're not talking about some think tank. We're talking about the actual number of American citizens in South Carolina that came out. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter like it should, because we have so many voters. We have so many other things going on in life. They don't pay attention to elections, nor do they fact check the information that they get on these cable news sites. I can't blame them. 10 years ago, when I heard something on the news, I just took it as being truth. But that was 10 years ago. Wake up, America. Wake up! Jim Clyburn, he may be leaving leadership, but his fingerprints will remain on the Democratic Party, and he will be going from stop to stop, lying to every African American who will listen to him. And don't worry, white Americans, he'll lie to you too. If he thinks you're inspired by 83-year-old Jim Clyburn telling you how he works with Joe Biden and gaslighting you, even denying the damage to the 94 crime bill. Can you imagine that?
And so all of this stuff about the crime bill, people talking about, oh, you just giving Joe Biden cover. I'm not giving Joe Biden cover. I've explained to you why I voted for it. Go ask Joe Biden why he did.
But people say that, it at least perpetuated the idea that more people should be imprisoned. Do you ever think about that your support for this bill may have perpetuated mass incarceration as we see it now?
Yeah, I think about that. I just don't think that's true. Suppose we had not done anything and just let the 1986 and 1988 stay in place. Don't do anything. Then where would we be? Remember, we took the mandatory minimums off of first-time offenders. So where would we be if we just let 1986 and 88 stay in place? Do we get any credit?
He did not stop the catastrophe, which was the war on drugs, which was really the war on black people. All he did was put a slight Band-Aid on it. And to make things worse, he knew it was a bad bill. But he said people got on him. People said mean things to him. So he caved in. He caved in. Now he's not caving in. He's leading the charge. See, folks, if we don't become educated, if we don't have the guts, the energy, we don't see the immediacy, if we do not see the immediacy, the urgent need, the fire alarm, the 3-alarm fire alarm that's going off, if we don't heed that and talk to our neighbors and talk to our friends, forget what I'm doing, what are you doing? Go start a YouTube channel. Go start a TikTok channel. Go start an Instagram Reels. Get involved. Join that shitty threads on Facebook. Become a part of waking up fellow citizens. You ain't got to be no damn newscaster. Newscasters, most of them, are scumbags. They company men and women who do whatever their bosses tell them. Nah, we need truth tellers. The fact that someone like Jim Clyburn could stay in office this long, it's pathetic. We all bear responsibility for allowing that man to stay in office this long. What are we going to do about it? For that and so many more reasons I have yet to even touch on in this video. Jim Clyburn is leaving leadership, but that is no reason to clap.
And I can think of no one better suited, better prepared. I can think of no one with the integrity, no one more committed to the fundamental principles that make this country what it is. That my good friend, my late wife's great friend, Joe Biden.
That's the first time he said something that I can agree with. Joe Biden is responsible for the way this country is right now. Mass incarceration, domestic terrorism, homelessness, overdose deaths, lack of health care, underemployment, environmental homicide. Our own air and water is killing us. A shitty FDA, a shittier EPA. War bases, war spending, warmongering. Name a thing. Name a thing. This bastard has the unmitigated gall to say, Joe Biden is the only man with ethics. Then to fake like he's crying and do like this. Because his wife loved Joe Biden. You love pharmaceutical money. Folks, I can't say this enough. Jim Clyburn is leaving, but Jim Clyburn's work is not going to be gone. He's going to run again in office, and we got to do whatever we got to do to stop this man. If we don't stop Jim Clyburn, we don't stop Joe Biden. We don't stop falling for the trap between Republicans and Democrats, then we're getting exactly the country we deserve. For calling it out, my name is Tim Black.